Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 71739, Ultrasonic Raider from the LEGO Ninjago Legacy theme. This set contains 725 pieces, 7 minifigures, and will retail for $79.99 in the US. This is an all-new set that may or may not be out now depending on where you live. If you live outside North America, this set probably came out on June 1st, but if you live within North America, the set will be coming out on August 1st. But with all that being said, let's get on to the review. So here is the Ultrasonic Raider itself. And right off the bat, this guy looks a little bit strange. This is kind of the third version of this vehicle that they've made. They had the original back in 2012. They had a similar, technically a different vehicle, but a very similar vehicle called the Ultra Stealth Raider in 2016. And then now we have the all-new Legacy version in 2021, which is based off the original 2012 version. Or at least in its name. Based on the build of the set though, it kind of looks like it's supposed to be a combo of the two. The Ultra Stealth Raider was more rounded, while this definitely seems more jagged like the original. However, a few things like the detachable bikes and the lack of any speakers at the back indicate that it takes a few aspects from the Ultra Stealth Raider. So it's like a weird amalgam of the two. And I honestly don't know how I feel about that. I like the Ultra Stealth Raider a lot, and I always wanted the original Ultrasonic Raider but never got it. But unfortunately, I feel like this doesn't successfully pull off either of them too well. It has the look of the Ultrasonic Raider, that's one thing I'll give it, right? Especially those big blades out the back, I think that's one of the most important aspects. But I really wish, given the option to create a Legacy set, they did more to, make it more accurate to the show. For example, in the show, I believe, 3 people could fit in the front cockpit up here, but the original set could only fit 1, and this set can still only fit 1. Instead, to fit all 4 ninja in the vehicle, they have these little compartments on the side right here which look a little bit awkward. Another major thing that I don't like that they got rid of were the giant speakers at the top. The context of this vehicle in the show was that it was created to create a sound system to blast the sound of the sacred flute at the Great Devourer. They got rid of that here, so the vehicle can't do the main function it had in the show. I'm not sure why, because that was just such a cool and iconic part of this vehicle, so the lack of any of that here is disappointing. But I am being pretty cynical to start here. There are a lot of positive things about this build too, so let's take a look at it. So here's the frontmost cockpit of the build. You can see there's a little sticker on top of it with this white design. And if you open it up, you can see there's a center console piece right there and a seat for one of the minifigures, which you can click them in just like this, and close the windshield back up around them. Unfortunately, this part of the build is very loose, it's very easy for it to come undone. That's because there is a transformation feature in the set that involves moving this, but there's no locking mechanism to keep it in place, so while it's like this, normally by default it's fine, but if you're moving this around, you can accidentally nudge it out of place, and then you have to manually move the upper section and get it back down. I wish that locked in place a little bit better. I don't like that. I feel like it's way too easy to accidentally just flip this upside down. So a better mechanism for that would have been very, very appreciated. You have a few different slope pieces on the side of that cockpit area for detailing. Nothing too complex, but it's worth showing. There's 2 exhausts behind that. A few different gold blades used for detailing all throughout. You have just a katana right here and then a larger gold blade. And then we get to our first side compartment right here. These are very, very strange. You can see you have a little turret right here. These turrets are just another thing that just aren't that sturdy. These Technic pieces that are used as the main barrel of the gun aren't connected hardly. It's just a Technic hole on a little pin right there. And yeah, it just feels very loose. And if you're moving this around and trying to aim it, I can see that coming off very easily. Especially if you're constantly playing with this. So I wish that was connected a little nicer because it shouldn't be this easy to just push it off. You have these 2 claw pieces right here that can wrap around the minifigure that you put in the seat. So if I sit Cole inside, I can close those back up around him, and there's how he looks actually riding in the vehicle. I actually think it looks fairly decent with him there, but when there's no minifigures in the seats, they do look a little bit awkward. The wheels themselves use these large tread pieces. For some reason, the color on these seems a little bit different than I'm used to. It's not gunmetal gray, it's too black to be gunmetal gray, but also the color seems too light to be LEGO standard black color. The texture of it also feels a little bit softer, if that makes any sense. So I'm not sure if they changed the material they made the tread tracks out of or something, but yeah, it just seems new and strange to me. And then also you can see there's little rubber inserts on the tread so that it can roll on the ground a little bit smoother. Large golden wheel on one end and a smaller white circle on the other end, and that's how they make up the design of the treads. And you can see those are connected to a very exposed Technic piece right here. Same exact thing going on the other side, except it's just flipped. But of course you can fit a minifigure in here as well, and close this back up around him. And yeah, there's a look at the other tread, as I said, exactly the same. And here's a look at how this thing rolls along the ground. Then we move on to the upper cockpit section of the build. This is the part that detaches into a flyer. As with the lower one, you can open up the windshield to put a minifigure inside. This one has a little more room in it than the other one though, which is pretty cool. And yeah, you can just close that back up around him. You got some stickered pieces on the side with these red streaks on them. Same thing on the other side though, this one has Sensei Wu's symbol. On the top you also have the classic Sensei Wu symbol. And then we have what's probably my favorite play feature of the set, or at least what should be my favorite play feature if it worked properly. So you can see there's this red Technic piece sticking out the middle as well as gold blades on the sides. And if you push in on that red Technic piece, those blades on the side flip out. And I really like that play feature. When it works, it's really great. But unfortunately, I feel like the stability of it's not there. I had to fiddle with this for a good 5-10 minutes to like get a take that worked. And you even saw in that take, the windshield for Zayn popped off. Now I'm sure if you hold this set in the exact correct position, you can get this to work like every single time. But I don't know, LEGO sets are made for young children. They're going to be playing with these sets in like all different sorts of ways. It shouldn't be that easy for the set to come apart. The entire mechanism for this play feature to work in the back just doesn't feel very sturdy as a whole. There's multiple places where it can come apart. They can come apart right here. These pieces that connect to these like little ball joint connectors all can come apart very easily. And then the way that the wings connect to the ball joints on the bottom also slowly slides off the more you use this play feature. So let's try that one more time. Okay, see, so now I've got it in a way that's working a little bit better, but you saw I just fixed both of those things on the sides, and now they're popping back out again. And the more you do it, the further those pieces slide off the axle. So this is a really great play feature in theory, but unfortunately I don't think it has the stability nor just the reliability that allows it to be used like for consistent play. So while I feel like there's a lot of potential there, unfortunately feels a little squandered. The blades themselves though use these gold spinner crowns and these large gold blade pieces out the back, as well as these golden wings down here. More golden wings around the back of the build, and the build ends up with one huge wheel at the back, as well as some golden straw hats and some open technicals. And then one other thing the full build of this set has is 2 spring-loaded shooters. They have green bolts in there at the sides of each of the bikes, and of course you just push down the back of them, and it launches them. But that's not it for this set because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, this set can transform. So let me show you each of the different parts it separates into. First, the entire upper section detaches into a little flyer. It connects into the main build with these Technic axles, and there's the holes that it goes into. Next, the 2 bikes on the side can also be detached. You just slide them up and then you pull them out, and that's the same for both of them. And then finally, with the main center of the build, you sort of flip this up and around and it transforms into another little bike. The best looking part of the separated build is for sure the flyer, but I don't have much else to say about it because I already showed you everything when it was attached to the vehicle. But in case any of you guys are curious, this doesn't really fix the wing issue either, having it detached. Like, pushing down this could still be very finicky, and it still, like, pulls pieces apart a little too much. It's a bit easier with the flyer detached, but you can see, yeah, look at that. Like, that should not happen that easily. So yeah, while this wing feature is very cool in theory, honestly, if you guys get this set, I recommend you just manually move the wings if you want to put them out, because I've never had any issues doing that. And maybe you guys will have better luck with the actual play feature than I do. Maybe my set just had weird, like, rigidity on the wings, because ball joints occasionally can have a little bit of strangeness to them, so maybe I just got unlucky. But yeah, I have not had very good luck with this at all. But yeah, regardless of that feature, the flyer does look very cute in flyer form, and it definitely looks the most complete of any of these builds. And then here are the 2 bikes detached, and these are pretty terrible, honestly. I don't really understand the point of them, honestly. Like, I understand detachable features are fun, but these don't look good at all. And I can't imagine they're too fun to play with either. So while like play features are cool and I like transformation features, this was just really unnecessary. But yeah, you can see they have one big tread on one side and a tiny little wheel on the other side. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about these guys. They're definitely the lamest ones of the bunch. You can roll them around like normal, but they're just awkward and lopsided and just don't seem very fun to me. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these ones. And then we have the big center build, which sort of transforms into its own little bike. And this one can't stand up on its own. If you hold it, obviously you can move it along the ground and actually moves like very smoothly. I love these wheel pieces. But the moment you let go, it just sort of falls over. Sides are not pretty either. This is where you're meant to attach the bike, so it looks really ugly, and then it's just open technicals behind that. The whole like moving the cockpit from the front to the center feature is cool, but just like when it was in the center, it's a little too loose right here. It's not as bad as when it's in the center because it can't flip like completely upside down, but still feels very loose and not in place. And then there's also some little stickers on the inside with some like red markings and then writing in the Ninjago language. If anybody wants to translate that, please let me know in the comments. And I don't know how well you guys can see it, but there's a look at the other sticker, which is essentially the same exact thing, just without the white printing for the Ninjago language. But yeah, while the flyer is cool on its own, these other 3 vehicles really don't stand on their own too well. So I recommend, like, if you guys were to get this set, only really detaching the flyer ever. Because if you put the bikes back onto just this build, then it looks a little bit more complete, though then this wheel is just like flying in the air, so honestly you can't really win with this. Yeah, it just doesn't feel super thought out. Genuinely, I'm just kind of really disappointed by this. But I think that's about gonna do it for the main build of this set, so now let's move on to the minifigures. But real quick though, here's a look at Golden Zayn on his like 10th anniversary display stand. Same exact display stands come in all the other sets, except he uses white studs instead of the other colors. And then also interestingly, around the back he uses 2 1x2s instead of a 1x4. The only other golden figure to do this is Woo. The rest just use 1x4s, so I'm not sure why that inconsistency is a thing. Very easy to customize yourself if you guys want. But yeah, I just think that's strange that that's like the default version of this guy. But yeah, that's about all I have to say on this for now. We'll take a look at Golden Zayn with the rest of the minifigures. So here are the first 4 minifigures in the set. We have the Legacy versions of all 4 of the original Ninja: Legacy Cole, Legacy Jay, Legacy Zayn, and Legacy Kai. I normally don't like reviewing 4 minifigures at once like this because I feel like you guys can't see them up close enough, but I didn't think it was worth doing like individual showcases for any of these because I'm sure all of you guys have seen these many times before. I know I've seen these many times before. Legacy Kai is in like the top 10 most common minifigures of all time, and the other 3 are really common as well, so I don't have too much to say about them. They all come with golden shoulder pads like they had in Destiny's Bounty and any Legacy set since then, and they all come with their golden weapons, so you get the Scythe of Quakes, the Nunchucks of Lightning, the Shurikens of Ice, and the Sword of Fire. They're all fairly decent suits. Jay is for sure my favorite, and then Zayn and Cole are pretty good too. I don't love Kai's suit, but I'm so used to seeing it at this point that it doesn't even faze me anymore. The only like really notable thing here is Zayn has a titanium face. In previous Legacy sets based on stuff before Season 5, he's always used a yellow face, but even though this set is based on Season 1, he still uses his titanium face here. So that just confirms the suspicion that I had that the yellow Zayn face is retired, because there's 3 sets this year that come with Legacy Zayn with the titanium face. So I guess that's something cool of note, but yeah, I don't have a ton else to say about these guys. And there they all are from the back with their alternate faces and back torso prints. You can see they all have their symbol on their back, which is pretty coul. But here are the next 2 figures in the set, and these 2 are both far more exciting. We have Legacy Rattla and Legacy Mesmo. Fun fact about Mesmo, this is actually the first time he's come in a full-size LEGO set. The one figure that he had previously could only be obtained in one way, and that was through a booster pack, which was like a special type of polybag back in 2012. But yeah, he never came in a full set, so this is his first time in a full set, which I don't know, I think that's kinda cool. But that aside, these minifigures are both spectacular. Rattler debuted earlier this year with the Jay vs Serpentine Versus pack, and when I got that pack, I genuinely just loved this figure so much that I was tempted to get multiples of it, because I wasn't sure if this guy was going to come in any more sets, and I really wanted multiples because I love this figure. I know the Legacy Venomari were very unpopular with fans. People didn't like how they were redesigned, but I think they did a full 180 on the designs for these guys, because these look so good, and even better than the original Hypnobrai. This time around they chose to use sand blue as one of their main colors instead of gray, and I think that looks so much nicer. Rattler's face is so much more expressive. The bright yellow lines give like a nice bit of vibrancy to his torso, and I love just like the dark blue like scale effects that are in sort of like hypnotic shapes. He's also got silver knee pads, and he just genuinely looks so cool. I'm really glad we got this figure reprinted. But Mesmo, on the other hand, genuinely might be one of my favorite minifigures of this year. I'm shocked I'm saying this, but they did so well with him. Real quick, I'll mention his accessory so I can take it off. This is the Constricti Fang Blade. It's cool to get that. It's a nice reference to the original like Season 1 sets, but it's not a complex build. You guys can build that very easily. It doesn't have the printing on it like the original did. It's just a trans orange tile. But with that removed, you can see Mesmo far better. And wow, this figure is spectacular. You can see he uses a lot of the same design motifs that Rattla has, though this time his torso is actually in dark blue and the sand blue is printed on top of it, though he still has the sand blue arms, and that creates so much more dimension to him that Rattla doesn't have because he is very monochrome. The yellow design on his chest also is a lot more vibrant. You can see it a lot better here on top of the dark blue. And you can see that it actually comes up and forms into a little snake face, which looks really cool. And actually, now looking at Mesmo's, I think Rattla's actually does that too. It's just I never noticed it before because the yellow on the sand blue is really light, but the yellow is very obvious in the dark blue, and that looks awesome. He's got this silver belt around his waist, which has metallic printing on it, which looks awesome. And then silver knee pads, just like Rattla has, though his hips and everything are a little more detailed. Mesmo's got these really cool looking hypnotic eyes that the Hypnobrai have. But then the top of his head is this bright yellow color. That like scale design you saw on his torso also continues into his head. This is a different design than the original Mesmo had. When we got Legacy Spitta, he just reused the exact same head printing and all from the original. So it's so cool to see them redesign the design on top of Mesmo's head, and it looks so much better. Like genuinely, that's amazing. And that yellow just brings so much life into this guy. I'm shocked at how good this looks. It's incredible. There's Rattla with the head crest removed. You can see he's got a little more printing on the top of his head. And there they both are from the back. You can see Rattla has back head printing. There's a really elaborate design on the back of his torso. A little less elaborate in terms of the scales on Mesmo, but I love this like silver armor piece. That looks awesome. I adore the shaping on that. These two are both super well done. So happy to get Rattla again, and the all-new Mesmo figure is incredible. I really hope we continue to get more Serpentine like this, because while the Venomari weren't amazing, Mesmo and Rattla are both incredible, and in my opinion are much better than the originals. So I hope in future years we get Fangpyre and Constricti as well, because that would be great. And then finally we have what's probably the main reason a lot of people are going to get this set, and that is Golden Zayn right here. This is the final of the 10th anniversary Golden Ninja minifigures that I've reviewed. There's one for each of the ninja as well as Wu, and Zayn is the last one that I'm reviewing here. Zayn's my favorite ninja, but unfortunately this is probably one of my least favorite of these suits. He's got the same legs as the rest of them with a bronze belt. I think that looks fine. It fits him well enough. And then the white design in his torso with his chest showing looks great. You can see a little bit of his heart that's printed really vibrantly and feels very elegant. I love that. But the part I don't like about him is the hood. The idea idea of an FS hood for Zayn is really cool, but unfortunately just the colors don't blend well in person. They went for trans blue for the hood, which makes sense, Zayn's the Ice Ninja, but the trans blue on top of the gold just makes this like muddy green color, and not only does that not fit Zayn, but it also just doesn't look very elegant. It just looks a little messy and gross, and yeah, I just don't think that fits Zayn too well. Now, luckily, there was the Golden Zayn minifigure pack that came out last year, so if you have that pack, you can swap out this hood for that one, which I'll probably make a separate video, like fixing the Golden Ninja in different ways, and that will be one of the things I try in that video, and that would probably make the suit look a lot better, but in its current state as it is, the FS hood is just not very good in my opinion. If you guys disagree, let me know in the comments, but yeah, I was severely disappointed by this. I was hoping the trans blue would look a lot better on top of the gold, but it just doesn't. There he is with the hood removed. You can see his face print, just a standard titanium Zayn face, same one that was on the Legacy figure earlier in this review. And there he is from the back. I actually really like the back torso printing here. The sort of scratch mark effects of Zayn's symbol look great. And that white belt continues around the back. You have a little bit of white and blue up there and just some more gold ice shards. So in short, the hood for this figure isn't great, but the rest of it is. And luckily there is another Golden Zayn hood out there which you can very easily customize this figure with. So, what are my overall thoughts on this set? I am left severely underwhelmed. I was told by a lot of people that this was the worst set of the wave, but I was staying optimistic because I really like the minifigures. I like the Ultrasonic Raider as a vehicle a lot in the show, so I was really hoping when I would get it in hand I would have a very positive outlook on this set. But just building it, I realized, oh yeah, this isn't that great. But even just doing this review, I found a lot of new flaws in it that I didn't even notice when building. It's outclassed by both of its predecessors. The original Ultrasonic Raider looks better and captures the look of the vehicle in the show much better, and the Ultra Stealth Raider does a far better job of the separating sections thing. This set is just odd. I feel like this set's best if you build it and then sit it on a shelf and never touch it again. Because the set as a whole just doesn't feel very sturdy, and I just don't think it would be great to play with. Like, the front seating compartment being so easy to flip upside down just isn't a good thing at all. And just attempting to use the wings play feature in the back can cause so many pieces to fall off so easily. And I know some people in the comments are gonna say, oh, you're just doing it wrong, etc, etc. But I sat there for a while with this thing. I'm not doubting there's probably a way to do it that's smoother. But this set is made for children. And if I at 19 years old have to sit there finagling with it just to try to get it to work properly once, I highly doubt that children playing with this set will be able to get this to work correctly most of the time, and I guarantee it will fall apart just like it did for me. And then just things like the detachable bikes just seem pointless. I feel like they were just trying to pull in the play feature from the Ultra Stealth Raider, but the detachable bikes don't look good and they take away from that center section. I feel like if they just made the center section transform better with the bikes attached to it, I would have liked this set a bit more. But every little part of the set just feels so detached from each other, and when all put together, it just doesn't feel like very much. It's not the worst LEGO set ever made, but it really isn't great, and I couldn't recommend it. It's fine if you sit it on a shelf and never touch it. It does look like the Ultrasonic Raider, but that's about all I can give it. And then minifigure selection is a mixed bag. For $80, 2 exclusive minifigures is pretty good, and getting Rattler again is pretty good, but the Legacy 1 Ninja are just nothing and uninteresting. I guess if you guys don't have them yet, it's good to get them here. But you can also get the Destiny's Bounty from last year, which comes with all of them, plus Wu and Nia, and that is a far, far better set than this is. So while the minifigure selection isn't bad, it's also nothing exceptional. I don't think the minifigures alone justify getting this set. So yeah, I don't like being this negative, but unfortunately I did not have a good experience with this one. But those are just my thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and subscribe if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos like this every single day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!